Ben, you'll perceive that I'm back home.
Okay,
Welcome back.
we're live. Welcome everyone to another town hall. Just getting set up here. Okay.
All right, and today we have Adam Jennings with us.
Oh,
Ward is here. Just like in grade school when you get your name called present.
that's right here.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna-
funny how anyone who doesn't have their video on doesn't show up in the live stream.
Oh, in the live stream. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. I guess 5 of us. We go ahead and get started. All right, action items. I was to email Ed Grieg about next steps, which I did. Never heard back. Guess we're gonna have to try again. I'm not sure if they're still up for that project or not. Don't know what the status is at this point. Ben and John email potential e-NABLE leaders with the recording from our last town hall and discuss next steps. So I saw the email. What was the outcome of that discussion, if any? Ben?
I don't know. I don't know if
That
it did go the
That
next
had to
step.
do with getting Ian and et cetera.
Yep. Try and get
And-
everyone together.
We really haven't done that. I was sort of on vacation this week.
Okay, so we'll just leave it for next time.
I think I did. No, I emailed Ian about some other stuff.
Okay, there's an upcoming presentation from Everton. I saw something about that. Do we know when that is? I think there was a date, right?
Yeah, Everton was available with his team to present about their platform. I think it was next Wednesday. Let me just double check. But that would be something potentially maybe we could rope Ed Grieg in there. Although the timing is probably going to be tricky for him.
So Wednesday the 3rd.
I think so. Updated invitation. No, Thursday, August 4th, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So that definitely would not be a good time for Ed.
Okay.
Is that something that you guys would want to do, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. next Thursday? Or should we try to negotiate for a different time?
I could do that.
I think I can. Evenings get a little tricky, but I will do my best. It'll be recorded otherwise, I assume.
Yeah, and we might want to, if you want to follow back up with Ed, you could mention to him that we're having conversations with Everton about his platform. If that's something that he's interested in, we could ask for a different time from Everton to just rope everybody in. The time in Brazil is similar to ours, so maybe early in the morning would be easier and we can get Ed.
Okay. Well, I will have to email Ed again. Okay, let's move on for now. Here's our metrics. No big changes. There will be a change. That e-NABLE fund balance is going to go down because the proposal for reimbursing the infrastructure expenses to me was approved. So there'll be a drop in that soon, but otherwise everything here is pretty standard. I didn't really find a lot to highlight this week in the way of posts. I was part of it as I was short on time, but also just there wasn't a lot of active posts this week. I highlighted this one. This is a new member, and he's just asking basically for, hey, is there somebody that I can talk to kind of help me get started? And it just kind of reminded me of our discussions about a sort of a concierge type approach to helping people. Not sure if anyone's available to help him out. He did say that he's going to poke around in the new member area. Hopefully he'll find his way to the next new member meetup. Maybe somebody wants to point out that specific next meetup to him. That would be a good opportunity to get some questions answered. And I thought if anyone else wanted to offer some advice right now, we could also share this segment of the recording with him. Anyone?
Well, we've got Rick Williams with us, who's going to be hosting the new member meetup. We've got John Scholl, who's had put together the video that we'll be sharing. Actually, Rick had asked about John's video. John, do you want to share your video link in the chat?
Yeah, well, you'd think I would have it handy, but I can look for it.
Okay, and that Rick could use that in the next new member meetup, but we also could embed that into the chat. I can send that post out after this.
Okay, great. Let's see. Injection molding background. He's been 3D printing for a couple of years. Love to get involved. Wants to connect with somebody that can tell him what to do. Okay, so just quick recap. Basically, you're going to want to review our the code of conduct if you haven't already. That's in our new member, sort of in the wiki. If you haven't found your way to the wiki, that's in the main forum here. Go down to the wiki, and then the e-NABLE code of conduct is right here. And then right in that same list, how to get started as an e-NABLE volunteer is worth reviewing. And this gives a pretty good overview of how to get started. So you're basically, as it says here, familiarize yourself with the code of conduct, check out the new members welcome space, which he already mentioned, so he's aware of that. Familiarize yourself with the current designs that are available. So you'll find it right up in the top menu here. There's a link to devices, and that'll take you to our devices catalog. Take a look at some of the designs available. That includes a list of recommended designs, our most popular ones. Pick one of those, review the instructions, make one, figure out how to print the parts, assemble it. There's good tutorials and documentation for most of them. And then you're going to submit a video to sort of show what you made and how it works. And that's how we do the approvals. We have a digital badging system. So there's a link here where you can request the badge for the device that you made. We'll review the video and any photos, make sure everything looks good, and then award that badge. After that, you're going to want to learn about sizing devices. And we give a link here to a page that has tutorials for how to do sizing with a number of different methods. You can use sort of a virtual fitting method, or you can use more of a measurements-based method. And those are outlined on that page. And then from there, you can go ahead and create a free account on e-NABLE Web Central, our matching platform, see if there's any cases in your area. And if not, then you can start reaching out through local chapters that are in your area, or finding people here on the hub, and find somebody hopefully in your area that can use some help. Anyone want to add anything to that?
That was a great summary, Jeremy. If you go to, I've been posting responses to a couple new members. So if you go to the forum and you look at introductions, you filter.
Oh, the main forum? Okay.
Yep, and you filter it to introductions. There's a couple other posts that have responses that I gave that link to the pinned post in the new member space. So you'll see with Jack as an example.
Oh, okay.
That's a great place to start. So if you click on that, the pinned post starts out with the community rules, and it has some of these different ways that people can be engaged. Here's the video that John just shared a link to.
Okay.
And right under the video is a link to the Launchpad, which is see more details of the Launchpad. The Launchpad is sort of a deep dive into all the different ways that people can be engaged. This is something that we've had 2 consecutive interns help put together.
Got it. Okay. This is good stuff. And we ought to figure out at a later time how to kind of better align the different pages that we have. You know, we've got that one wiki page that I was looking at, and I think it's pretty well aligned with kind of the way things are laid out here, but let's just make sure we're being consistent in kind of the steps we're taking people through. But this is, I think, easier to navigate.
This is kind of a choose your own adventure kind of thing too. So you'll notice that discover by volunteer type. If somebody is a new member or a school group or a coordinator, they can look specifically at how to engage in that way. And I think there's one more if you scroll down. Oh, no problem.
No, that's the bottom of it.
That's the bottom of it. Okay, great. It probably goes to the wiki that you're talking about.
Well, that's what I'm looking at. So how to become a new maker. This is a different page, but it does look like it's giving similar instructions. Look at the designs, make a test device, submit for approval, learn how to size. So it looks like they essentially copied the other wiki page. Now that's great. This one has nicer formatting, actually. We just need to be careful about getting copies of pages that are going to become out of sync over time. So we'll have to think about that. But this is good stuff.
Great. Yeah, and this would probably be the more recent version of it.
Yeah, it looks like it. So maybe we ought to update that main wiki down here where we say how to get started. Maybe we ought to just dump this and link over to that page, so that we
Sure.
don't have to maintain 2 copies. Something to think about. Okay, so yeah, that was the only one I really highlighted. Let's maybe share a copy of this segment of the video with Jeff on that post. Would you do that for us, Ben, please?
Sure.
Maybe he'll join our next new member meetup.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. There was another post that I thought was pretty interesting to review too. We don't have to take a ton of time on it, but the Lawrence Stern, did we talk about that dialogue between Eric Bubar and the father of a device user?
No, I'm not seeing that one here, so it wasn't one of our most commented posts, so help me find it.
Lawrence Stern was posted on July 17th, but the comments are pretty recent. There's some that are just 3 hours ago. And there's just this really wonderful feedback back and forth between Eric Bubar and Lawrence, and they're looking at
You have the link, Ben?
yeah, I could share the link. You could look up it's
He
tagged
got it.
as
He got it.
Bionic also.
It's interesting that it didn't show up as one of our most active posts, but here we go.
Yeah, if
And-
you open up all the comments, there's a lot of responses to each comment. So there's a lot of sort of nested comments.
I didn't see this one, so I haven't read through this. If you have, can you kind of summarize for us, Ben?
Yeah, there's actually, I think we did talk about this in the past. There's this really great.
Oh yeah, this is the one that had the links that I wanted to capture, like these things on Amazon and stuff like that, that I wanted to make sure we didn't lose. Okay.
Right. So we have talked about this actually. Yeah. And here's me sharing us talking about it. I brought it up only because this coming Friday, a week from today, is the Bionics meeting.
Okay.
The guest presenter is going to be Eric Bubar. So it seems like a great opportunity for us to maybe invite Lawrence to join us,
Absolutely.
as well as other parents of device users. There was a recent post I just saw, I think this morning, that is another parent of a device user.
My goodness, there is a lot of deep knowledge here in terms of bionic stuff. I can hardly follow half of this. Okay, good stuff. All right, so yeah, I agree, definitely. Let's invite him to that meeting. Oh, and I didn't update this, by the way. Is that our
you're
next
taking
one?
notes. Did you capture the 2 action items you just taken on? One is inviting Lawrence, and another one has
That's
to do with
today.
the meeting of Ian and Jeff Powell and Eric, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, the
And-
emerging leaders.
Okay,
Right.
all right, but that bionic design team is today, right? After this one, an hour after
No,
this one?
next week.
Oh, why do I have it on my calendar for today?
It's
Is that-
August 5th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I moved my calendar when we were talking about the other meeting. Thank you. Okay. All right. So then let's see. Is there one today then?
Nope.
No? Okay. So then let's see. Do we have an August schedule of events to look at yet?
We don't. I did email the leaders. Vivek sent me a summary of his plans. I'll follow up with Ian and others and see if we can get a list of.
Sure. So we can go over that next time. But for now, at least we know the next one is the Bionic team meeting next week. So
Yeah.
All right. Upcoming one-time e-NABLE events. Okay, so we've got now one interview with Rick Williams. The first one about alternative fabrication processes happened last week, and so we have a recording for that one. There was some great show and tell and discussion. And I do hope to get Rick on 3D Universe Untethered to talk to me about his work with MIDI and assistive devices. I have yet to reach out to schedule that, but I will try to do that. Maybe today we can get something scheduled, Rick. I'm sorry I've been so slow on that.
It's okay, believe me. I got plenty to do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. All right. So yeah, we'll go on here to discussion topics. So where we left off last time, we were talking about these kind of emerging potential sort of leaders of different areas. And I think the next step is to really kind of try to sort of establish some focus areas of identifying what each one of these individuals wants to pursue and focus on. We don't want to dictate that. We want to let them tell us where they want to focus. And that was the reason for trying to get that meeting together that we are working to coordinate. So we want to try to get all these people and any other potential interested parties into a meeting together to just kind of talk about what our next big picture steps are and kind of who wants to take lead on which areas. So it sounds like, Ben, you're going to try to coordinate something with all of us.
Yeah, I added the action item for emailing the potential leaders.
Excellent. Okay. Let's see. We'll take a look at open help desk tickets. I didn't have a chance to look today, so I don't know if we have a lot to look at. Let's see. Okay, I did respond to this one we looked at last time, the library network in Houston, but I did not notice that she had replied to me. I apologize. I'm not usually in the e-NABLE sort of department here in the ticketing system. So she said, thanks for the quick response. We'd love to explore the possibilities of becoming badges in e-NABLE community library. On behalf of HCPL, Jennifer Schwartz, Senior Manager of Program Services, and I have availability on August 4th. Between 9 and 10 a.m. or 1 to 3 p.m. and August 8th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So good time to talk about this. John, Ben, Rick, Adam, any of you guys who are interested in joining us for this discussion, are any of those times good for you?
The 4th and the 8th are not magic, so I'm okay.
Okay. Any time preferences from any of you guys?
What are the options on the 4th?
On the 4th, we got 9 to 10 a.m., which I assume is in Houston. So that, are they 2 hours behind you, John? I can't remember what Houston is.
I'm in
Houston
Houston.
should be central.
Houston is 1 hour behind me. It's the
they're
same
central.
zone as you.
Okay.
currently.
So then, yeah, so that would be 10 to 11 a.m. your time or 2 to 4 p.m. your time.
That's a Thursday.
Okay.
So we have a meeting with Ian about the NIH 3D exchange from 10 to 11, so that won't work.
Okay.
And
Would
What
Monday
was
the
it?
8th be better? From noon to 2?
Well, what about August 4th from 1 to 3 p.m.? So that would be 2 to
4 p.m. your time. Yeah.
that works for me.
That seems like it's a better shot for me. Although I was hoping to step back a little bit in August, but I can.
Well, you've already got Everton on for the 8th, so I think your vacation begins on the 5th. Anyway,
I'm glad you decided that for me, John. I was waiting for.
that's right. That's right. Happy to be of service. Okay.
So she
If you
mentioned she has a window of 1 to 3 p.m. This is likely a half-hour conversation. So is there a particular time in there from 2 to 4 p.m. your time, John, that works best for you?
No, whatever you like.
Okay. Anyone else have any preferred time? Should we just say 2 p.m. Eastern?
Okay.
That's easy enough.
I'm going to hold off and send this later because I'll go ahead and create the Zoom invite and include that. So I will just leave this as a drafted reply and we'll see what else we have here. e-NABLE in Tanzania. Okay. Hey, my name is Max Shearer, Colorado. I wonder if I can get in touch with Kyle Reeser, read his stories about his work in Tanzania with prosthetics. Okay. So I will just, I don't think Kyle would mind me sharing his direct email. I will respond and put him in touch by email.
Great.
It's worth mentioning that Kyle has had two, let me see if I can pull it up. He said 2 articles about his work in Tanzania published, I think locally here in Rochester. News 13.
Do you happen to have links to those articles, Ben?
I've got links to one of them. Yeah, he said it's W Rock last week, so that's already published, and Wham 13.
If you wouldn't mind just sending me links, I'll include them when I respond here later.
Yep, I just added it in the chat. Rochester First is the one that I know.
In the chat. Okay, let me just copy this.
But I assume that that's what he's already seen. Max says he heard stories about his work in Tanzania. That's probably where he heard them from.
Maybe. Okay. All right. Well, I'll check with him, and I'll put him in direct contact anyway. And then it looks like we've got a few here that haven't been addressed yet, so I'm not going to bother looking at those. We'll let Rick take the first stab at them. What was this one here? Chapter inquiry, difficulties getting a chapter on the map. Rick, do you remember what the details are here, what we need to do? Apparently there's somebody.
We fixed that. Let me see here. That should have been.
Well, I mean, the last response here is we've not been added to the map, and I believe we submitted our forms almost 2 weeks ago, and you said I have a couple of colleagues that can answer this.
Oh, yeah. I think it's because the map was broken for a while, and Mazdev, I think, fixed it.
So can you do me a favor and just confirm that their chapter is now appearing on the map, and then reply back and let them know?
I will. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
No problem. Oh, that's why, because it got assigned to me. I'm going to assign it back to you because that's why
Okay.
you're not seeing it. There you go.
What's the name of the chapter? I can look for it right now.
Let's see. University of Waterloo Biomechatronics.
Yeah, I think we put it in there, and that's when everything started going nuts. When
Yeah,
Well, but the
it's on
University
there.
of Waterloo is there.
Yes.
Okay, so it is on the map now. Okay. I just assigned it back to you, Rick. I'll let you respond and let him know.
I will do it.
Okay, so that's the tickets. Nate's proposal in Lumio. I don't, hopefully all of you have had a chance to look at this, but there has been, well, I would say discussion. That's part of the problem here is that this didn't get the 1 week of discussion that we're supposed to have. I guess Nate wasn't aware of that. And so he put this up as a proposal. So far, it's got 8 agree votes and 2 disagrees. One of those is from Kyle Reeser and one is from me. And I hesitated. I feel bad. It's gonna, I'm sure Nate is gonna have some hard feelings about this. I really do admire Nate. I love his work. I like him as a person a great deal. I just have concerns about, as Kyle said, it sounds like we're talking about funding this work for what is now a for-profit company that he has established. And, maybe that's okay. I just, again, without having had the opportunity of discussion, it feels like this is kind of outside of the sort of the ethos of e-NABLE and maybe something we shouldn't be funding from the e-NABLE fund. And so I had to disagree without having the opportunity for asking questions and discussion. I'd like to see what others think about that, though, and maybe we can, I don't know, maybe we can get some clarification on this. Any thoughts?
I think your and Kyle's concern is entirely fair. And it hasn't flown yet. So Nate would be well advised to respond to these comments and criticisms if he wants it to pass.
So I guess I'm not even clear on that. Since we bypassed the discussion phase, how would he even do that? Is there an ability to comment on one of these things down here or anything? Because I don't.
Well, he can add his own comments, I believe.
But
I
that's
wonder.
what I'm saying. I don't think you can on a proposal. There's no place to comment. That's why we do the discussion, because on a proposal, all you can do is vote and put in a comment there.
Now, what about can he can change the date? I wonder if he
Change
can
the date, yeah.
Can
And he
step
could
back
modify the
to-
content up here. I guess he could use this area up here to address our comments and concerns.
That's what Kyle did. People would, I added some feedback to Kyle, and so did John, and Kyle
Right,
changed his
but there
actual.
was also a discussion forum in which you could sort of track what was going on.
And Jeremy's saying that there might not be that possibility. Is it something where Nate can revert the proposal to a discussion?
I don't think so. They're 2 separate entities. He'd have to close the proposal and then start a discussion and then restart a proposal. And of course, I don't want to get into, you know, his personal business here, but he did make comments in here about he's being close to being homeless. So I suspect he would be unhappy about those kinds of delays.
Well, so it is possible for people to change their votes. So maybe it's worthwhile to, this is sort of a less than ideal process, just because there was these sort of updates to how we do the discussions since the last time he participated. I wonder if it's worthwhile. I mean, maybe I can in a comment say, you know, votes can be changed if there's changes in the proposal to clarify some of those points, and we can sort of use it as a working document. How much more time does he have until it closes?
Just a few days, 5 days.
Okay, what I think is that this will almost certainly fail to pass for the reasons we've discussed. And we should perhaps send an email to Nate. Well, but I think everything that needs to be said is in the proposal. So, I mean, and in the discussion of the votes.
Okay.
So I actually think the process is,
voting.
I'm afraid the process is playing out.
Okay.
Well, I wonder if Jeremy, if you or if Kyle want, I haven't read your comments, I apologize, but if you could, what would make it pass for you? Is that what your comment describes?
Well, I mean, you know, the whole proposal, I mean, as Kyle said, this is a request for nearly $10,000 to fund R&D for a for-profit company hoping to sell the devices. I mean, that's the heart of it right there. So what could you do to get this to pass? Well, not do it under his for-profit company, but that's not likely to happen.
So let's, again, I haven't studied this, but I want to say I was ambivalent about it, so I figured I'd wait and see how things developed. I'm not, frankly, sorry to see that the community, that the people who've responded share my ambivalence. But the designs, I presume, are going to be open source, whether they're for his for-profit company or not. Does it say that?
I don't know if it does, but I would make the same assumption.
Okay, if that were true, does that address your and Kyle's concern?
Well, you know, there was another comment here that I thought was right on. Will McCaffrey shared, remember, we did a proposal a while back, and as a community, we agreed on this statement. e-NABLE is a volunteer philanthropic effort. We give devices away for free. Open source licenses for e-NABLE designs typically do not prevent people from charging for devices, but any such commercial activity is done outside of e-NABLE. Okay, so clearly what he's doing with his company is outside of e-NABLE. So should we be funding that through the e-NABLE fund?
Well, but notice Will continues and saying if I'm putting some emphasis on this, but if the intellectual property remained outside of the business, that would not violate the statement above. So Nate,
yeah, it's a gray area. So
your intentions.
So you're saying in that case, what we're essentially just paying for the designs, which would remain open source. And then if he chooses to do something commercially with those designs, that's outside of the scope of this.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that would win my vote, but I'm saying it might, and it does address some of those issues. The point is, there are ways that Nate can respond to this. And if he does, it's got a better chance of flying. If he doesn't respond, I mean, frankly, I feel for Nate also. But under the stress he's in, I'm not sure that there is the question of whether he's in a position to follow through on this, given the chaoticness of his situation. So if he can't respond to these criticisms, it will fail for
I have
reasonable
to
reasons.
I'm going to seem like the bad guy here. Like I said, I really like the work Nate's doing, and so I don't want to be negative here, but I have to ask, we did fund a sizable project previously for the NIOP work, and that was delivered some time ago and added to the catalog. To my knowledge, very few people have actually made NIOP devices, at least based on what I'm seeing in badges. is, you know, I mean, how much value is there in these designs? Are people actually
Right.
using these?
So that is indeed a third concern. That's actually the one that I led with when I spoke to Nate a few weeks ago, is that if there was going to be another grant, I would want to see more information about deployment and makeability, if you will. So he's got the information he needs. I fear that he's juggling too many balls to respond to it adequately.
You know,
But I have
do-
to believe he's got an eye on what's going on and he's dealing with his issues.
Okay.
going to mention the last grant that he applied to and got. It was initially going to be a partnership with, I think it was Bob, to help him with some of the video stuff. And he was going to have sort of a separate team that was going to do the video stuff. Then the pandemic rolls through and Bob wasn't able to go. And I mean, that was in the days where we were thinking Bob can still go, even if there's this little virus. And then it clearly snowballed into something else. I wonder if, recognizing that Nate doesn't have to be the one to solve all these things, but recontextualizing the proposal towards open source and not going into all the details about sort of his business, I think would be appropriate for the.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if it really is about developing new designs and those designs are open source, you know, we don't need to hear about what he might do with those designs later. As long as it's allowed in the licensing, that shouldn't be part of the proposal, because I do think it muddies the waters.
Right. And that's, I think that's great guidance for him and for, some of the team that he's working with in Colorado. And it could be really important for next steps, but not necessarily, for the e-NABLE side of things. The other thing is just what John was saying. If he could bring in one or two partners that are going to take on some of the sort of the testing, maybe a case or two that looks like it could be NIOP appropriate. There's been a couple people that have commented recently in the hub and they've talked about NIOP stuff. So if he could have a couple of those that he doesn't have to manage, just saying this is also going on, and I'll track that or it will be documented by these other people to support sort of this effort. I think that could go a long way. And again, it wouldn't have to be something that he's responsible for.
Well, there's one other dimension to this, and we don't need to get too much into the weeds here. We'll let the discussion play out. But Kyle also points out that his understanding of kind of what e-NABLE is about is working to provide free, non-medical grade devices. And if that is kind of the work that we do, then that plays in here, because essentially Nate is saying that the only reason that he went to a for-profit organization is to facilitate FDA approval. So, I guess the question is that what we're about? Do we want to fund trying to get FDA approved medical grade devices? Is that the kind of thing that we want to invest our, let's be honest, limited funds? They are. I mean, we're getting down into where we're going to need to figure out how to replenish our funds here. So just asking the question.
It's a fine question. I had a conversation with Adam Jennings.
Who's here, by the way? He's in the car, though.
Hello, Adam. So we talked about the possibility of pursuing FDA approval. And frankly, Adam's expertise and background makes him a plausible candidate for actually pursuing and getting that, if that turned out to be what he wanted to work on. So I'm open to the notion that e-NABLE designs might helpfully make a contribution to the world if they were FDA approved. But again, we would not want that to be under the umbrella of a for-profit company. And we would want the design still to be open source, I believe, unless the FDA conversation pointed us to a different way of thinking about it. All of which is to say is that there's great stuff in Nate's designs. There's good stuff in his proposal, but as written, I don't think Jeremy and I are going to support it. I don't think Kyle supported it. There was one other, the other person you were quoting, whose name I've forgotten, had some concerns and some suggestions. And it's possible that if Nate, with or without a collaborator and a partner, were to address those, it would fly. But it's not currently flying for, I think, 4 distinct reasons that we've gone over in this discussion. My
Well-
suggestion is that we pop an email to Nate saying, know you're busy, know you're preoccupied, but be aware that we had a discussion during the town hall meeting. We talked about some of the issues which may be blocking passage of this proposal.
Send him a link to the recording, but he does get notifications every time somebody votes, so he's seen.
Well, that's right. Okay.
And I would be very interested in, I know we're kind of trying to coordinate a meeting with some of our sort of potential new area leaders. I would love to make sure that all of them have had eyes on this. I want their perspective on this, the folks.
That's a really nice idea. I agree with that.
Okay,
So-
let's move on.
So real
Ben,
quick though, just to summarize, we've got Nate's proposal. I'm taking notes in the document, but in terms of some of the issues, the for-profit versus open source focus, the device users testing the devices, perhaps led by other parties, the FDA approved medical designs as a goal. John, you mentioned 4 key things. What's the 4th?
Did you get is the design open source?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for-profit versus open source focus.
Well, I think those are 2 issues, right? One is the for-profit dimension and the other is the open source design. I, in principle, think that for-profit, that I don't have a problem with for-profit. If the design is open source and can be used by other for-profits and non-for-profits, but all of that needs to be clarified. Anyway, that's, I think, how I got to 4. I was thinking of that as 2 issues.
Got it. Great, thanks.
Okay. So Ben, you're going to send an email to him? Can you?
Yeah, either John or I can send an email to him. That's fine. I
Okay.
can help John with it.
Appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Well, we just talked about that one gentleman looking to get in touch with Kyle Reese about his work in Tanzania. Do we know anything else about the progress there as of now? Probably not, right?
I think that article that I haven't read yet.
Yeah,
Kyle
okay.
updates.
In fact, let me drop that in here. Okay. Rick, you had wanted to get in early to show us something. Was that R&D related? Do you want to show us now?
Sure, if you
Okay.
guys have time.
Yeah, we got time. Go for it.
We have a new device, and it's out in the field right now being tested. We have a young lady who is, she has no feet, no hands, and we've been helping her to get a job as a scuba diver, a professional scuba diver. And we've got the whole thing going. It's working well. We're building her special tools, special gear, special everything, so she can actually do and she's doing it. She's now been promoted and she's their lead diver.
Fantastic.
But we also, the new hand that we're working on, unfortunately it's in the field, but I have parts to show you guys. Specifically this.
Oh, is that the new finger?
Yes, it is. Check this out, guys.
Wow.
I'm able to make these in about 20 minutes.
What are you doing to make it go?
I'm pulling a string right now,
Ah, okay.
which is a guitar string. And they're super slinkies.
Yeah.
But you have to understand I looked it up. Bicycle chain of this type can take about 2,800 pounds. And as you can see, the range of motion is not that bad. It'll hook to most of the e-NABLE hands. I have a smaller one. This one's a pinky.
Do you have to have the, it looks like you've got some supports on the outside of it.
Oh, no,
Those
there
springs.
isn't. I'll turn it here so you can
Those are
see.
springs to return it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the return springs.
Got it. Okay.
Have you had an opportunity to attach one of these to a hand
Yeah,
yet?
it's actually underwater right now. It's actually being we actually designed an
Is that,
underwater nail gun, pneumatic nail gun.
but what are bike chains made of? Isn't that going to rust underwater?
No, it's we looked that up as well. Bike chains, not only they're incredibly cheap, you get like 20 feet of them for I don't know $15, and not only that, are they're super strong, but they're nickel and stainless.
Well, I guess that makes sense because you don't want your bike chain rusting when you
Oh
get in
yeah,
the,
you're going through all kinds of ugly.
yeah.
But the beauty of this thing is just, I mean, it's not only is it incredibly strong, but we've been able to pick up weights that are like 40 pounds.
It also looks like it would be conformant, that it would bend itself around the shape of the object.
Well, not only that, yeah, you can actually configure by welding, not welding, I'm sorry, soldering. That we eliminated the welding, and now it's all soldered. So anyone with a soldering gun can build one of these in probably about 15 minutes to a half hour, depending upon your skills. But yeah, it has a lot more joints. It's more like an octopus almost, but the grip is incredible.
That's pretty cool.
And what I really like is it'll hook to most of our hands. It won't hook to anything right now that has the rubber joints, but anything that has, as you can see, this is where
Sure.
it connects.
Well, I will point out one thing, Rick. One thing that we hear from people fairly often, as far as, you know, people that have received professionally made prosthetics and then end up leaving them in a drawer in preference of our cheap plastic prosthetics, is the weight issue. People often find that the ones that are professionally made are just too heavy to be comfortable wearing all day. So I would be a little curious about how much weight that's going to add to have 5 of those metal fingers on a hand. But it's certainly worth trying and getting
Yeah,
some.
that's what we're looking at for when you really need the strength.
And underwater, that shouldn't be too much of an issue, by the way.
No. And what we're doing is we went to this chain is a racing chain. And as you guys know, the racing chains, everything's got to be super light, everything. And not only that, we're looking at 3D printing chains. So if you
Okay.
don't need the metal strength, you could actually 3D print the chain, and then you don't have a learning curve. You just keep using the same templates.
Hmm.
So because the chain, you know, all of these little, I mean, it's amazing just how quickly they respond and work. And we've actually used everything from, well, the guitar strings make it incredibly strong and fast moving. But, you know, the springs could probably rust. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but underwater, we put hers, we did not cover hers up. Originally, we put it in a rubber glove
Okay.
just to see how it moved. And it was so creepy because the glove moved in a way that was almost, you know, it was almost unnatural. But it grabs just everything. She could pick up a dime with this thing. It was amazing right off of a table. And
Now,
we've got
Rick, you were there. You have a cell phone, but you have no video for us.
oh no, she's taken it with her.
You saw this movement and
Oh
you
yeah.
didn't.
Oh, you're right. You got me there.
Okay.
Just get in
And
the
this is
habit of pulling your phone out and capturing video clips for us.
I got to do better at that.
I'll just keep
This is
saying
actually
it.
the central processor for the Bionic version. We've got a Bionic version she's got out too. This is the CPU, and it's running on two CR2032 batteries,
Yeah.
and it fits right on the arm with this little stupid strap.
Hmm.
And what's really cool is this is the entire processor. That's the batteries, the processor, everything. And this actually, you guys are going to love this because the entire arm operates like a gyroscope. So, you know, doing this opens and closes the hand, right? If they can at least just turn, and the entire hand has no, there are no myos. It's all gyroscopic.
Gyroscopic because there's an accelerometer and a gyroscope on that board.
In here, yeah. Now this board runs about $20. And it's got everything. That's the I/O, everything. That's the thing. Now the motors, of course, different story, but that's got to happen anyway. But this controls the entire thing. So she's going to be testing it at her job site. She has broken more hands than anybody I've ever designed for. So this design has been crucial for her. She breaks everything, and she lifts buckets of concrete, and just it's crazy.
Well, once
But
again, we got about
this
half a
hand so
dozen.
far.
Got about half a dozen innovations in what you just shared, but the
Sorry.
challenge is capturing this. I think our next intern needs to be somebody that's just going to follow Rick around and document what he's doing.
And for
So-
John, for John, I went out and bought a 360 camera. So now I have a Kodak VR
That's-
360 camera just for you, John. I
Well, I
found a deal
appreciate
on
that.
one for $100 and some bucks. So
Now we have to, okay, so what you need to do is design something that just fits on your head,
yeah,
and it'll be there all the time.
I'll just put a little helmet, But I think you guys are going to like this for certain situations. And I mean, not everybody needs a metal hand, but some people, really put these through. They break them.
What kind of hand did you attach those to in her case?
Right now, it's on one of these.
Oh, one of the
The
ones
other
that
one.
you designed. Okay.
No,
No, that's
this
an
is the
arch
one
hand.
I've been working
That's
with.
an arch hand? Okay.
Well, sort of. It's an ARX.
Yeah.
But we're looking at not using this one because she has a partial. So we actually, for hers, we built her something like this that is a just sort of like this, but it's a partial, and it hooks across her palm
Okay.
here because she has one thumb, and so she's got a partial, and we've been practicing making sockets, hand sockets. You get the socket right, everything works out. And last week, I think I was trying to show you guys the archery thing that goes around the wrist, and that actually works beautifully because everything else hurts her, because her wrist is actually larger than her hand, and it was very painful for her to use anything else. So building the socket and using the archery device, which is designed to pull back 200-pound pull bows, it has to be very comfortable, and it has a disconnect, everything. $7. I mean, I can't build it for that. So we try to do off the shelf as much as we can if it's cheap enough. It just,
Very cool.
But I thought maybe you guys would just like to see what we're doing. And
Absolutely.
the key to the thing was super slinkies. It worked really well. These things are the tendons. And they take amount of pressure that you guys wouldn't even believe. They're guitar strings.
Yeah.
And we use the 0.10s, and they bend, they fold, they mutilate, and they don't break because as a guitarist, I beat these things silly, and so we've been integrating these into it. Of course, they could potentially rust. We don't, but all of the tooling they use could rust as well. After they're done, they clean up all their tooling in WD-40 buckets. So everything, but so far the things she's been reporting, it's performing incredibly well, and the range of motion, as you guys saw, is insane. She does so many.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how it holds up. That'll be an interesting experiment in itself, especially, do you know, is she going to be diving in salt water?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
It's all salt.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how
Yeah,
that.
she actually is using it. We built her a special tool to clean boat hulls, and like I said, we're almost done with her pneumatic nail gun that runs underwater.
Pneumatic nail gun?
Yes, she needed to be able to drive nails underwater.
Oh, wow.
And they don't really have a way to do that. So we took a pneumatic nail gun and we made it a snorkel, and we took a thing from a pump, a water pump, that if the pump dies, the water doesn't go the other way. So it's like a check valve, and we put that on it. So basically, when you blow the nail out, it the water won't get back into the gun. And we built a mitral valve. It's like a heart valve. We built a mitral valve for the front end of it, so the nail comes out, but then it closes, just like a heart valve.
Rick, I have to say, you really embody the spirit of e-NABLE. It was never supposed to be just about 3D printed hands. It was always about assistive tech, and you're coming up with all these great.
So we just, whatever we can do, that's
great.
kind of the stuff we're building. But the tools were a big deal. I mean, you have to understand, she's like 98 pounds, soaking wet. And she's got these 6, 7 foot guys she's working with, all muscle, and she's outperforming all of them with these new tools.
Now, where does she live and work?
She lives here in St. Petersburg, and she has now been not only hired, but she's also now their lead diver. And she works for a company that
Now,
builds boat docks.
you mentioned no feet as well as
She
hands.
has no feet. We
Is
built
she
her special
wearing?
fins.
Oh, so you made some special fins?
Yes. We got
Wow.
special fins. She's
Rick,
Marcus's mom.
What?
She's Marcus's mom.
Right, it all comes together. Okay,
Yeah.
listen, Rick, somebody should do a little video thing or a local news story
Mhm.
about Marcus's mom, and Rick Williams. It's a no-brainer for any of your local news people. Ask her if she would, at some point, we should just make this happen. It's great television. It's a great story.
And we know you're shy and low key, Rick, but don't do it for yourself. Do it for e-NABLE. Just, it would be something to help share this work with others. And it would really be nice to have that documented. I agree. The news media would love it.
Well, we already saw yours, Jeremy. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Ancient history.
We dug up one of his.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, one of Jeremy's that we were torturing him with it. But yeah, I just wanted you guys to see what we were working on because I think it's useful for certain situations. Not everything, but
Okay,
certain
Rick, I'm
situations.
not saying you have to be responsible. You have to also do PR. But are you and Marcus's family receptive to the notion of somebody spending a few days with you and getting some video and doing a story?
Within reason.
Ask them, okay, and get back to us.
Yeah.
Because if they're open to it, we might be able to help coordinate that.
Yeah, they're an amazing family. The story is that she's actually from Chernobyl. She was a orphan in Russia, and got adopted to America through some people that had found her over there and brought her to the U.S. when she was a little girl.
And
the problem, though, is because of the damage to her cells, each generation loses a little more. So if Marcus has kids, he will have less than Marcus has. Their cells are not glow in the dark, but it's there. They have cellular chromosomal damage from Chernobyl.
okay, so, but just for the record, this has just expanded in my mind from a brief news story to, it's a great episode of Nova. Not that I know how to make that happen, but it's a great story. It's fantastic.
We're actually
fascinating.
babysitting Marcus next week. They trust us so much. He stays with us a couple of days every week or so, and we do music lessons. He's now up to 5 instruments
That's
he
great.
plays.
Okay. All right, folks, we're about out of time for today.
Sorry,
but
guys.
no, that was a perfect note to wrap up on. I love it. Anyone have anything real quick?
Yeah, I have one thing real quick, if you guys can hear me.
Yes,
Yes,
Evan.
sir.
All right, cool. First of all, hello, everybody.
Hello,
and
Evan.
people who are listening and don't know who I am, I'm a volunteer accountant. My one thing on Nate's proposal, I just wanted to ask if you guys could include me in that email. Nate was one of the first people I worked with when I joined e-NABLE. I helped him set up his company. It was for like government reasons, to work with the government. I don't think he has any for-profit intentions, but I want him to know that if he needs all of his government filings cleared up so he can, fix the context around his proposal so people are more willing, I would like to help him out. So I just wanted to hop in here and say, can you guys just like CC me on that email to him?
Yeah, that's a great offer. Thank you.
Evan, that is huge. Thank you. Nate would really benefit from partnering with somebody like you. That's really lovely. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Also
Yeah,
note
I
that
worked-
Nate is posting all his designs on Thingy, so he hasn't slowed down on being open source.
Nate does not
Right.
slow down. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, open source was definitely intention from the get-go. I don't think I would have jumped on his ship if it wasn't. So
Mhm.
anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So, okay, so it falls to Ben and me to write to Nate, unless Evan.
Yeah, I can reach out to him.
Why don't you just do it? Frankly,
Sure.
Nate and I have argued about a lot of things over the years. He knows that I'm there for him.
Yeah.
But it might be simpler for you to be the guy who reaches out and to convey the spirit of this conversation and of your fantastic offer and see what comes of it.
Yeah, that sounds good. You can put me down for that. I will reach out to him.
Great.
Thank you so much.
And
that's
actually,
nice.
I'm going to copy the points from the notes into the chat for you. I don't know if you can see this, Evan.
I'm on my phone, but maybe.
I can email it to you as well.
Please do.
Yeah, and it seems like, you know, adjusting some of those things would probably make a pretty big impact in how people receive it.
Yeah, and he did want to do a nonprofit the first time we talked about it, but there were some government points he needed a company for, not a nonprofit. That was
Okay.
pretty much the only reason it was for profit in the first place.
Well, yeah, okay.
All right.
All good.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Unless there's anything else, we got to wrap. Okay.
Okie doke.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
Hey, y'all too.